You should not put boundaries in terms of countries or states or wherever. I think problems are almost the same in most of the countries wherein people struggle with public transport. What we aim for is that how our services or what we do every day, how it impacts humankind. And when you go to Manila or Lima or Bangkok, you find similar kind of problems. In fact, some states have not even started thinking what India is doing. Whatever we have built so far, it's fitting into those maps, and we are very excited.
We are creating a borderless marketplace, right? Where only the competence matters, not the location. Talent sourcing is location independent. Because the biggest change that has happened because of the internet. The cost of building a business in India on the engineering and product side is 1/5. But more than that, I think what has happened right now is the availability. So it's not only cost, right? It's the speed to be able to build something. If I'm building out of India, the speed at which I can hire, right, and the speed at which I can replace, even if there's attrition, is like 15 days. That is significant.
We feel really nice being one of the very first people to be building a premium luxury consumer product out of India. I think we feel pretty much like how James Dyson would have felt when he was building the Dyson vacuum for the global market. Many customers take Nimble home because they think that it will help them save 50% of cooking time. Little do they realize that the amount of bandwidth that it saves them, not standing around in front of the robot, not thinking about food, not thinking about groceries, the kind of benefit that it gives back to consumers is much more than the 50% time it saves them.
Thank you. Can I have Priya, Gautam, and Raghav on stage, please? Awesome. Like I said, last panel, we're going to make sure people don't fall off to sleep. I think Gautam, your speaking style and pitch will help. And I must also add my plug. Priya is here after a 3-day offsite. She makes sure all big government contracts come to Chalo, but she also is the chief people officer still, I think. So she had a big event for Chalo in the last 2 days, and I don't think you've slept very much, but thank you for being here. And Raghav is still battling jet lag. That's what happens when you run a global business out of India. Half of his team sits here. But I'm really glad all three of you are here. I'll just cut through the chase, and maybe I'll start with you first. Mohit presented earlier, so folks have heard about Chalo being in Bangkok, in Manila, in Santiago, and there's a long list of cities and countries that want Chalo. I know I battle it as a board member when you all present so many opportunities. What have you done in India that makes you more successful, or the probabilities of success increase to go and launch in global markets? Your experience in India, how is that helping you go global?
Hello everyone. First of all, I think I look better than the video which you have seen. You will agree. And yeah, you are right. I have not been sleeping since like for 1 week, but more than you, I have to entertain myself to be awake here. So just you're better than me. So please be awake, and you're a founder, so you should be awake. So 2 things. Now I'll answer your question. I think what we are building in India is the same thing which people are facing worldwide, because it's a global problem. More than global problem, it's a very India focused problem, because if we see India as a country, the per capita income falls around $200, and most of the people are depending on public transport. But the problem is that transportation as a problem doesn't count in top 10 problems of this country, because there are so many problems. And fortunately, unfortunately, there are so many cities, so many countries like us who are facing. I went to Geneva in November, and I was seeing a similar kind of problem, and I thought that what we are building is so relevant for Geneva, countries like Switzerland, and I'm not offending anyone here that they don't have public transport systems, but they can do much more, so much more, which we are doing in India. So it makes us very, very relevant, I'm sure. I'm assuming all of you know about Chalo. They know about Chalo. I think you have done a good job. So very relevant, and a lot of innovations, what we are doing for Indian cities, as we all know that India is a very diverse country. So every state, every region, every 200, 300 kilometers, your dress is changing, your food is changing, the bus is changing, the way people traveling are changing, the target group is changing. So I think it's a good luck that we are in India, and we make it very, very relevant for the global market as a team.
Think, but I'm going to push you more on this. Think like a best kind of a 6,000-7,000 buses that you run in Bombay, and also think a smaller city like Kochi or Indore for that matter. Has that diversity of supply and customer and TG helped you in launching faster or more efficiently in Manila or in Bangkok?
Of course.
Tell us a bit more.
So I'll focus on this more. Not only the entire socio-economic or cultural change, but also when we hire for Kochi and when we hire for Bombay, the entire scorecard and JD gets changed. And we are hiring for both the city as city managers. So there is so much difference, so much diversity, that the range is so large that when you hire for Kochi, that's a different state, different kind of requirement, and the kind of products we are building, there are a lot of things which government is asking or operators are asking. So we are lot of things we are customizing our product. So it becomes very, very relevant for any of the states or any of the country wherein we go, whether we go to Manila or Bangkok or anywhere. Most of the solutions which we have created, like when I sitting here, my CTO is just one of the finest tech solution guy, and it becomes very relevant.
I agree on that actually, yes. Yeah. He's also IIT Delhi, maybe that's got something to do with it.
Yeah, I agree with you too.
Thank you. No, that's very apt, and I'm going to come back and push you more on this because I know the speed of execution in Bangkok and Manila, it was literally days, not even weeks. So it's clearly the tech and operations and all that excellence. I want to switch to, maybe I'll ask a common question to Raghav and Gautam. Go to market, I know fancy word, but let's put it in simpler terms. Very different for you, very different for you. Go to market, a B2C business versus bringing small recruiters and large recruiters on the other end. Just talk us through some hacks, some insights in the early days of the business. I know Raghav, you progressed a bit. Gautam has progressed a bit, maybe on age like me, but at least from a secret's point of view, still early days. But tell us about some hacks and insights that have helped you really understand your consumer, your customer better, and put the lens of Indian entrepreneurs, Indian teams building for the world.
So I think so first of all, I think this panel is going to smile a lot more than the previous panels. Thanks to Priya kicking this off. But I think the insights that we got from our market, at least I got from the market, only came once I spent at least 12 months there in the midst of the consumer, living like a consumer, by literally firing any help that you might have in India, commuting like the American consumer does, shopping like the American consumer does, and basically living like an American. So most of my insights came there, and what I realized was that unlike India, which was established I think the first urban civilization in India was roughly 2,500 years back. And since then we've grown population-wise. We're the world's largest. We have the world's largest population. So many people that the country has become a service-led economy. Anything you need to get done, you have a person to get stuff done. US, on the other hand, was the first urban civilization was only set up about 400 odd years back, and that was also because it's such a huge landmass that people came there for the land grab and for the gold rush, and they're continuing to go there for land grab and gold rush. Right? The landmass of America is significantly larger than India's landmass, with a population size of only 1/5 of India. So for per capita, you have 15 times the land available in US. And what that leads to, if you think about it, if you have a piece of land, now one person has to till 15 times the land area than an Indian farmer would have to till. And if you need security on your property, you probably need 15 security guards around your premise to secure your property. And so people do not scale in America. And so America ends up being a product-led economy, which is what you also mentioned, and most of the companies that have gotten big in the US are all product companies. It's a product-led economy. So one thing that had to change dramatically for us was that the product, if you have to build a product for the US, the product needs to be perfect. Assume there are no people to service your product. There is nobody who can go to consumer homes and educate them how your product works. The product needs to be so good that without any human intervention, it needs to work flawlessly. An example I give everybody is, a humble coffee machine. So in Indian offices, we have this cafe coffee day coffee machine that costs about 50,000 rupees, and then there's an annual AMC that is put on top of it. It breaks down every 2 weeks, and we're absolutely happy with it. We're happy to pay a guy who comes in every 2 weeks, fixes our coffee machine, and we're happy. Anybody wants to take a jab at what that same coffee machine costs in the US? Close. So it's about 6 lakh rupees, $8,000. The beauty is it does not break over a period of 5 years. There's no person who goes to your office and fixes it. It self-cleans. It does everything on its own. There's nobody who has to come to your office and train you how to use it. So that is the product ethos that we have had to instill in our product. It works so beautifully that it shouldn't break down. We are working towards. So far in the early days, I had to go door to door to explain to users how to use this. They've never used something like this before. But right now, the product DNA is that we need to get to a stage where no human being is required to teach. I can go on and on, but I want to give you the opportunity.
So if I were to summarize, dogged focus on getting the product right.
Yes.
And almost assume there'll be nobody that's affordable to service it.
Yes.
So there's a lot of DIY involved here, right? Do it yourself from
Yeah.
consumer's point of view.
Yes, and again to give you an example, right? The level of product innovation in India, dishwasher penetration is less than 1%. In the US, to automate dishwashing, 70% of all houses have a dishwasher. 70% versus less than 1% in India. RoboVax, I don't have the numbers, but I presume about 20% of all US households have a robotic vacuum cleaner. It's not there in India. You have a guy who comes to your home and then cleans your house every single day. So there's a reason that Americans spend so much on automation. It's not because they want to spend on automation and they have the money. It's because they don't have people to solve that problem.
And I think this is where Gautam comes in. He's going to get a lot of people from India and other places in the world to America and other places. So Gautam, sorry, maybe the same question for you. Early hacks and insights.
Yeah, so let me begin by saying America is a first name country. So the first problem is pronouncing my name. Yeah. So and when you're pitching, like look, in our business, our annual contract values are 100K upwards. So it's a face-to-face pitch. Right, I mean, you can do it through a video call. But I suddenly realized that people were not saying my name because they didn't know how to pronounce it. Right? And they're very careful about these things. So I need to figure this out, right? So first thing I did was like, hey, have you seen Batman? The guy says, yeah, I've seen Batman. So do you know Gotham City? I said, yeah, there you go. I'm Gotham. Now that made a hell of a lot of difference. So once, and the guy's smiling, oh, Gotham, yeah. So it does two things for me. It breaks the ice right? Now the guy says Gautam and he knows how to pronounce my name. And then the conversation starts flowing. That's one. The second thing is America is very, very sports driven, right? Sports is a very big thing. Not that India doesn't have a lot of sports, but in the US it's like massive, right? So you need to know, like if you're selling in the US, like we are enterprise, you need to know American football, right? Now it makes a lot of difference if you can talk about the Super Bowl and have maybe one comment to make on that, right? So that's the second part. I mean, if you're selling in the US, just pick up some stuff. Is there on the internet, right? But sports is a big thing in the US. The third problem, and that's the problem which we're still grappling with, is the cultural issue, right? Like when you are pitching, right? Now the guy says, I'm from Tampa, Florida. Now Tampa, I know where Tampa is because I know a bit of geography. But if I'm pitching to you, Manish, in India, and you say I'm from Delhi, I have 5 things in common with you. So before I get to the pitch, I will not straight away start selling to you. That's stupid, right? I need to make some relationship. So I said, oh, you're in Delhi. Oh, did Chandni Chowk? Oh, yeah. Did you go to Darya? Oh, yes, I did. Oh, Delhi is very hot in summer. Now, we're already vibing there, right? And there are 2 common friends we'll pick up. Now, if I'm pitching to somebody in Tampa, Florida, apart from the fact I know where it is geographically, I have no clue, right? I'm not even gone to Tampa, Florida, right? Now, those are issues which are practical, on the ground problems. How do you establish rapport, right, in an enterprise sales situation, especially when you are selling slightly larger value, right? In our case, it's like, as I said, it's 100K upwards. So that, if you ask me, is one of the biggest challenges in the GTM. And not the theoretical construct, right? I mean, you can make the ICV, you can do the lead gen, all that is fine. That's not difficult to do. But how do you crack the deal, right, with a person with whom you do not have that much cultural similarity as you would have with a person in your own country? And that, if you ask me, has been one of the biggest challenges.
And just to bring this some context here, it's not like it's a problem you can solve by hiring locals, because founders will still need to sell in the beginning. We also recommend, and
Correct.
that is the only way.
I mean, yeah, that's
It's not
stage 2,
like
yeah, because we're talking stage 1. I mean, yeah, stage 2, you can solve that problem by hiring locals, and which is what we have also now done. And a lot of the other companies have done.
Now you know all the local football team players in Tampa.
Yeah, I can tell you who won the Super Bowl. Yeah. so
Fair.
yeah, I mean, that's
I'm going to push both of you a little bit more in the interest of carrying the discussion forward, and we'll come back to Priya. So, suppliers, your folks are between Vietnam and China. I know China is not a favorite word these days, but at many kinds of scale, it still makes sense. In Taiwan, we have a lot happening. Vietnam, we have a lot happening. Your co-founder has explored a lot of places. Think of those manufacturers and suppliers. And Gautam, for you, it's your recruiters. Think training to scale, think onboarding. Again, short answers. I want to take some questions from the audience later also, but big picture hacks and some learnings on early training, onboarding, and thinking scale. Supply side for you, it's small recruiters; for you, it's your manufacturers.
So just to remind everybody, Nimble builds robots that help people automate home cooking. So we build devices that get installed in consumer homes, like coffee machine can cook the world's best food for you all at the tap of a button. We have all our customers in the US. Our contract manufacturer is based out of the US, and they have a Chinese contract manufacturing facility where we manufacture our robots. I think there are 3 things that, short and sweet, 3 things that are very important for us to ensure that they work to our standards. First thing is over communication. There are language barriers, there are cultural differences, and there is possibility that you're not on the same page. So it is very important that we take the same point home multiple times. Second is very crystal clear documentation in simple language that a 5-year-old can understand. Every process that they need to follow has been documented down very neatly with diagrams, with labels, with everything else, so that they're able to build things to our specs. And the third thing is alignment with vision. So these are partners, early partners. We are small companies. It's not like we already have $1 billion worth of businesses to give them. So it is very important that they see the same kind of future that we see. They feel that they will grow as our business grows and continue to take risks alongside us and become a partner as opposed to a vendor. And only then are we able to grow together and build together and leverage each other's strengths strengths and growth.
So I think in our case, just to give 30-second context, recruiters in India are hiring for the US. So they're not moving people from India to the US, but they're hiring local talent in the US. That's the business model from an exchange perspective, the cross-border. So I think there are two aspects to it, right? The recruiters or the suppliers who are not US familiar, and we realized this at at our own cost in the early days. Like even how you write a mail, right? In India, like for example, very simple. In India, you can ask the person, "What's your salary expectation?" You can't do that in the US. Actually, it's illegal. Right? You can ask your current salary, right? But you can't ask. Sorry, it's the other way around. You can't ask his current salary. You can ask the salary expectation. In India, you ask for salary slip, right? I mean, nobody gets a job. I mean, all of us, people who apply, that's one of the common things, right? Send me your salary slip. But you can't do that, right? So that's what. So you need to train suppliers in India, because you can't do this, right? And these things are serious, right? You can't ask somebody to send a salary slip. It is against the law, right? In some states, in the United States. That's one. Second is, even when you're writing a mail, the way you construct a mail, right? Very simple. How do you approach a candidate in the US, right? Those are things which we had to train for, right? And we've done it through the platform. We have a US starter kit, right? Which when suppliers get onboarded, it's like a 10-page presentation, which we take them through. Of course, this is like on the platform itself, which talks about stuff like how do you talk to a candidate, how do you send an email, how do you talk to the candidate on phone, right? What are some of the do's and don'ts, right? Then we speak with suppliers, especially the ones who are not that tuned to hiring in the US, right? Like when you hire somebody, what is the kind of messages you need to give to the recruiter, right? So yeah, it is, like look, it's an ongoing process and it's a tremendous challenge, right? But that's something which,
that's where you build your differentiation.
You have
to get this right.
There's no other way to scale. We can't scale if our suppliers are not scaling, right? So that's a part of our business.
Thank you. I have a question for Priya and Gautam both, but Priya, maybe you can start. But both of you, you can safely say are 2x entrepreneurs. You've been part of a business building journey that went through a full conclusion of a sale. You even ran the division of a large HR tech company. Maybe reflect on the past a little bit, some of those mistakes that happened in the past venture that you don't want to repeat here, and keep the context of building a global company out of India. And as you do that, please also touch upon, I already know both of your cases, your senior leadership team is split across many geographies, at least 2, in your case already 4 or 5 geographies. So how do you even not repeat mistakes, but also make sure you have a founder, leader-driven culture in the firm, which I know both of you are very sensitive of, as the company is scaling, as the leaders are everywhere. So past mistakes as 2x entrepreneur, and then founder, leader-driven culture, especially in a global company like this. Priya, if you want to go first.
So I think the leadership team has to. Good thing is that we are very lucky that we are very closely knitted team, and people sometimes tell us that this is a very family-driven culture, very close, strong team culture within founders or people who have joined in management team also. We acquired 2 companies, so they came from their culture, they came from their own DNA. But good thing is that when we do these kinds of acquiring another organization, you see the matching DNA, that whether you get along with them as human being or not. And human-centric approach is very evident in our culture. So we put this in the center, and you know how passionate I am about it, Mohit is about it, and we don't call it as like culture and HR or people-centric. It's just the way we are. So we cut it, and we are very, maybe, I don't know the right word, but I think we are conservative about how we should be bringing people in Chalo. and we want to make sure that even we bring an IIT graduate, we take 3 rounds of interview, and the people sometimes abuse us to take like 12 hours interview, 6 rounds of interview of a 2 years experienced guy, and people have written about it that what is this top grading interview? Why do you take such? And Gautam was talking
You should
about
remind
that.
them Google takes 10 interviews before they hire anybody, so it's fine. Chalo, can do as many hours as you want.
So Gautam was talking about that you can't ask for salary slips, we ask for entire biodata, and where our first question of top grading interview is that, okay, remember when you were born, and tell us your story about when you remember that you were born with which family. And somebody I remember in Karwale also, somebody has gone to police station, then they are asking so much personal question, and then we realize that we are getting very personal with people, because unless I know you, and there's a saying that's hire for skill and hire for attitude and train for skill. I don't know what does this mean. What it means to us is that if you are not a good human being, I am not going to hire you. I sometimes ask you that how many times you meet your parents, or we just get into top reading interview and we ask that we just try to understand what is that value system you stand for, because one of the core values is courage. And if you are, and one of the, we don't have policy manual in our company. We have 40 pages culture book, which I have written with like 2040 English. There is still grammatical mistakes, and my another co-founder keeps telling me, "Ye galtiyan hain isme." But we have like we don't have policies. We have guidelines. But one of the policy which we get it signed is a no gossip policy when you join. And then courage is a core value. So if I have a problem with you, you talk to me rather than talking to 3 people or going to Mohit before talking to me. We do not appreciate you doing that, and we don't penalize people. That if you say something, you don't lose job, and we have to practice every day. And it comes from the top, and we have to demonstrate all the time. So even if there is a fight, there is a debate, we just keep it very, very open. And somebody joined at a leadership level globally. George has joined us from Intel after 22 years working with Intel, and he was telling me day before yesterday in Goa that I'm amazed the way you guys are transparent. You guys are talking about numbers. Anybody can take pictures, and you told all of them that you can take pictures but don't post in social media. How can you trust your people so much? And I said, I know that if I'm asking them and if I'm requesting them, they are not going to be posting. And he said, what if they post? Because it's just business numbers, you're presenting an annual plan. And I told him, George, if somebody does that, we will learn our lesson. That we have done a wrong hiring, but we are not going to hide anything from them. They should get the transparent information, and that's what we are building. And we don't train our teams as a leadership level, but we just make it very, very natural for them that they are part of the organization, and we may be like a family.
So you're hiring different kinds of people also, but the core of the culture remains and it grows. And I know you've acquired 2 companies in India, and I know you're partnering with other partners in the global geographies. But the core culture is still driving.
So when we hire someone, we put them under someone who has been spending reasonable time in the core team. Like one of our leader, Harin, who has come from Shuttle, he heads the international business, and he's most of the time in Manila or Bangkok or Philippines to set the culture, to hire the team, train the team. So he's supposed to be there. So we don't outsource things that, okay, I have hired you, now you are on your own and we are going to be talking about numbers and you are supposed to deliver something. Of course, you have to deliver, but we take care of you and we make sure that you are feeling included and you feel that ownership is another core value, wherein even if you fail, you should just stand up and say that, yes, I failed and I'm going to make better mistakes next time. So that's the culture. It's difficult because sometimes people say that how are you going to control and how are you going to scale with this kind of value system and this kind of free-flowing transparency. But we will see when the time will come and we are like 5,000, 10,000 people, we will figure out our own way. That's the one answer. I don't know whether.
Oh, that's very helpful. Gautam, you want to go?
Yeah, let me talk about that mistakes part first. So, I think first time when you start, and I started when I was very, very young, I don't know, what's the average age now, I was 24. We are like we have Indian founders, but we're not an Indian company, right? We're a global company, and a global company behaves in a certain manner. And unless you behave in that manner, you're not going to be a global company. You're going to be an Indian company with an office in New York, and that is not the vision. We are going to be a global company with Indian founders, which is fine, right? We are proud of our heritage, but we are not going to impose an Indianness all around the office. It's going to be something where people from all over the world are going to feel at home. And they're going to say, yeah, this is an office which I like coming to, right? Because this is like my office, right? And I could be from any part of the world. I think that is a very big, like a leap that you have to make if you want to build a global company.
You can
That's
install
very
nimble
well.
robots, you get a lot of global food in the family. You can install nimble robots, you get a lot of global food in
They
the
cook lovely Mediterranean, Filipino food and good gacha at the same time. Okay, I realize time is up, it's always up in life, but can we take some questions? I have a long list. By the way, we created this list not from our team. We polled our investors and other founders, so the questions are coming from there. That's why they're sounding intelligent, it's not me. But I'm going to stop. There's a long list here. Let's take some questions from the audience. This is the last panel, last opportunity to ask questions. So I'll warn you, after this is all final.
Yeah, hi, Gautam and Raghav. You all being present internationally as well. So just wanted to know, what kind of, differences you have found in working culture in terms of being in India and abroad. So any such differences or any such, be it in teams or be it in, goal setting or be it in any such insights?
You want to go first? I think at least what I've observed is that at least when working with US employees, you have to be very specific with what your ask is. We have to be cognizant of the fact that the salaries we pay them are probably 5x of what we pay them in India. And if our problem statements are loosely defined, we don't know what outcome we want from them, we will not be getting the best bang for our buck. So problem statement needs to be very clear. I think too loose of a problem statement or just letting them idle around, you lose money on every minute. So,
I think the only thing I've seen, and again, maybe Raghav, look, we only have one person who works within our company who's not an Indian and he's based out of the US. And I've known him for a while, so maybe my opinions are slightly biased because our relationship is slightly personal. But I'm going to talk more about when you are like in the market, because that's what I've done for the last 2 or 3 years. And I've met, I don't even remember how many customers face to face or through video chat. I think it is important to, again, let me repeat, it's not that you want to Americanize yourself, but you've got to localize yourself, right? And I think that's important. I think if you talk, they appreciate the fact that I know what the local cuisine is like, right? I talk about a movie which is relevant. Those things are important. I think relationship building, at least that's what I've seen in the US, people appreciate that, right? Earlier people would tell me that it's very cut and dry and everything is about business. I don't think that's true, at least not with my experience, right? Yes, business is important. They are professional, they are on time, all that is there, right? Driven people, ambitious, but they value relationships and they value honesty, right? Like being straightforward, right? But if you can't do something, because I can't do it, right? You don't want to beat around the bush, right? So that's like one change, and I think the relationship piece, if you localize, I think that's a huge advantage, right? Probably it's there in other countries also. I've not sold in too many other countries. I did sell a bit in Japan, but Japan is a different country altogether. But in the US, I think localization, and it's not difficult. Language is not a problem at all, right, for us. So if you do that, then I think it makes a lot of difference. And I'm sure that as we hire more and more people, right, like fishing, right, hunting. I mean, these are things which people do, right? They're very outdoorsy. In the summer in the US, everybody's outside, right? They're playing a game or they're going out. I think it's important if you can. We're not used to that in India. At least I'm not. We are studying or we are playing cricket, right? Or watching a movie, maybe. Right? I'm talking about when we were much younger. But there, a lot of other activities happen, right? And I think if you can localize it to that, that would really help, and we appreciate that.
Actually, a few more observations on that. So one thing is, for example, it is very common, not at all common in India, to ask somebody on a Monday, hey, how was your weekend? US, very common, every meeting ever, hey, how was your weekend, what did you do? And there's like a long ass answer, just talking about how the weekend was.
We, we do it on Monday morning meeting that how are you feeling? And we have a survey on Monday morning meeting to roll out to everyone, which is a pulse survey, which we ask you to rate on scale of 1 to 10 that how are you feeling. And as Gautam said that you can't apply one rule for all, but if you pick global practices, best practices for like Mohit is a big believer of learning from books, and he always says that I didn't have money to learn from anywhere else. I didn't hire coach. I was not from great college. I'm also not from any big college or school like IIT. But you know, when you read good books, you learn a lot, and you need to have people like Manish or mentors like my board who can actually guide you to. Mohit always says that I get a lot of inputs, a lot of book recommendations from my board all the time, and Mohit is a big believer. We have courses of 5 books for learning to managers, so good to great from Jim Collins to scaling up, how to make a build a plan. When George came, we were very greedy. George will teach us how he has implemented OKRs in Intel. So you bring out global practices and then you learn. So as you said that you can't ask anyone in America what is your salary, and people don't ask in India. You just go to Kerala. Kerala is so different from Goa. Goa is so different from Rajasthan. Rajasthan is so different from Assam. If you go to Assam, there's like different culture, different people, different kind of city manager, different kind of assistant manager, different kind of people you have to have in India. So it is so diverse that you learn so much here that what to speak in Kerala with minister, what to speak in Delhi, what not to speak in Delhi. You know that, and you know where not to get in trouble in Delhi, but you can get in trouble in Kerala because there's a different kind of people who will accept your jokes, but you can't joke around in Madhya Pradesh that they might take it very very personally, right? So India is a very diverse country, and you can learn from a lot of global practices, what people are implementing in global level, and you can implement same things. And the last thing which you said, I'll repeat, that fundamentals are same. They also like appreciation. They also like to be loved. They also value relationships. They also value human-centric, emotions and value system. That if you treat somebody nicely, if you are transparent to them, if you care for them, I think everybody is loving that at global level.
I've also noticed, and I think you might also have observed this, that so one data point I found was that employees in the US stay longer with the company. Like in India, there's a lot of churn. Like every 2 odd years, people jump jobs. In US, it's at least 4 years typically. If you've committed to a company, you commit to a company for a long time. Second thing is that the cash compensation has like a 3x delta between the junior levels and the senior most levels in at least the Bay Area tech circles. Whereas there's high upside on equity. And people are very much welcome to taking equity. Whereas in India, now thanks to Flipkart and delivery and all of these companies, that culture is now coming in. People are very cash hungry when they join a company. It's less for long-term wealth. It's more for, hey, how much cash am I getting in the bank today? Delta between lower, like junior engineers versus senior engineers probably is 10x. It's not like 3x. Whereas in the US, it's flat like 3x high, but your equity upside is massive. So,
well said.
Yeah, I have a question for Priya. So Priya, as a startup founder, when did you realize that you should go global? Or it was a vision board from day one for you guys that okay, we are building a product for globally, or you realize it later, okay, our product fit is for global. So when you decided, like, it was from day one, the vision was, or you later realized this opportunity?
Both of my co-founders are sitting here, they are going to be criticizing me that तुमने ये नहीं बोला, तुम्हें ये बोलना चाहिए था. तो बट मुझे नहीं लगता कि पहले दिन से ये विजन था. आप सबको हिंदी आती है? ओके, तो समझ तो लेते होंगे.
I think we should ask this question in English.
अच्छा.
You just couldn't make it into the
Do you know Hindi? Like, you understand Hindi? Huh? Okay. Good. Yes. So I think it was not a plan. In fact, when we started Zobho, Chalo was Zobho, we were realizing that cars are not the answer. We were building Carvana. There was an article in 2015 in Times of India. I guess I remember that day when we were 2014 or something, when Vinayak joined as the co-founder and he led the team for a couple of years. That there was an article in Times of India that Ford sales has gone down and by 25% because of the company who doesn't own any cars, and which is Uber. And Uber is becoming number one car company, and we were just thinking that look, this company doesn't own any car, and they are going global, and they are a threat, and they are solving a public commute. And then the shared commute came, and we realized while building Carvana that cars are not the answer. And then we thought that we all love wheels. Like you haven't, I am guilty of changing my car every 5 years. This is my 4th car, and I can beat you on the road. So don't think that girls don't drive well. But it was not an answer. It was not a plan. But we realized at some point of time when Mohit has traveled or Vinayak has traveled to international markets, sometimes Dubai or Singapore or Hong Kong, that there's a similar kind of need of public commute, and there were cities like Bangkok and all, they were already doing what we were doing in India, and we were building and similar kind of product, better than them, sometimes some aspects, and then we started noticing international market, and we saw this was amazing and shocking to see at the same time that when you saw a couple of states and countries where they are worse than India, and they are like better than India in many terms, many parameters, but their public transport is completely broken, disrupted, everything is on cash, and we have started exploring, and we acquired Shuttle. They were doing it in two countries, and we started with those countries, and we have built up and we have scaled up, and then we scaled up a couple of more countries.
Local, some nuances. Thailand has vans. Just think everything that's buses, vans, no conductor, but same issue. Cash, vans not showing up on time, so on and so forth. Can we take some more questions? And promise to wrap it up.
She was not the one who was going to cook every day. Neither did I want to be that person who was going to cook every day. So I said, how can we solve our communal problem of eating freshly cooked meals every single day without having to spend tons of time in the kitchen? How can I have maa ke haath ka khana at home without maa being around? And that was the genesis of Nimble about 7 years back. I think that will summarize.
Was the kick-ass robotics design skills that you and your co-founder and the passion you have in that area, but good.
We could have
This also helps.
We could have automated Chalo's buses also.
And emotional.
Fair enough. That's what they told us when they wanted the money. So they're doing very well, folks, so it's fine.
How do you put emotion into your machine? You can put recipes into your machine, but how do you put emotion?
So we were calling our robot Nimble earlier, and there were people who would come and say, can we call it Sarita, can we call it, I don't know, Alexa. So, you can personalize your machine and call it whatever you want. When the robot starts, and it's a good question, when the robot starts, there's like a neat, cute image of the robot looking like a human cartoon, stirring food. So it builds some character into the device. So we have to, populate the interface with neat animations here and there, so it feels more human, for more personalized.
If I may add, they also cook Vikas Khanna's butter chicken because they partner with the Vikas Khannas of the world for chef's recipes. So there is a lot of implied emotion coming from chef partnerships as well.
So emotion comes from creators.
When I heard his business model and what he's doing, we were speaking about Raghav's business. I was amazed because I can't put emotions in my mate's heart. So I was thinking that if I can tell his robotics to put like small spoon of chili, then at least the robot will listen to me. Because my maid is not listening to me, कि भैया मत डालो लाल मिर्ची, and she insists that it is going to create better taste. Didi, please take lal mirchi. So I think most of us are struggling with our maids, and if I have a robot, Raghav, please help me.
Yes. In fact, I believe food is a freshly cooked food at home is a way for one to. It's an expression of love towards your family, right? So when you feed your loved ones freshly cooked meals in your own home, it's an expression of love, and that's why at least I try to cook every weekend so that I can express my love to my wife. Unfortunately, with your work commitments, it's difficult to do it every single day. So Nimble ensures that you can continue to express your love to your family every single day while spending a fraction of the time you would.
And this is a universal emotion, no pun intended, because you're doing a damn good job of cooking Filipino food, some types of Mexican food. Italian is not far because it's also single pot dish. So you've seen it across cultures. A little bit of emotion adds to customer retention, customer love.
Yes.
As a question, Mr. Dhupia.
Hi Raghav, this question is for you. I've seen another product called Thermomix, which does something similar. How are you different? What are the real differences in that product and your product?
So Thermomix is a company that sells assisted cooking device. Makes about $2 billion a year on just selling a device that assists you in cooking. So it's a device that you follow instructions on. You stand in front of the device, you follow instructions, and you cook a meal. If you have to cook butter chicken on Thermomix, it would still take you about an hour to cook the butter chicken because you're the person who adds the tomatoes, you're the person who stirs, who instructs it to stir. You instruct it to heat, and you have to be there for the entire 1 hour duration. In Nimble's case, once you choose butter chicken, you would put ingredients in different containers. After having prepped them, Nimble cannot prep the ingredients. Press, cook, and disappear. And for the next 30, 40, 1 hour, whatever the time is, Nimble would cook food automatically without you having to be around. So we save you tons of time that Thermomix won't. At the same price point as Thermomix. Thermomix retails for $1,500 too.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question. For something I know you said in the US, hopefully you'll sell in India as well. In India, you deal with power fluctuations, suddenly electricity goes off. Are you guys catering to that as well, or any plans to do that, or not so?
Sorry, can you repeat the question with the mic closer?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, in India, power goes off, suddenly your generator, inverter comes on, which really doesn't happen in the US. So, will your product cater to that or no?
So we already have, even though we have not designed the product for India, we've designed it for the US, even then we have a feature where if there is a power interruption and the device shuts down, the device would, when you turn on the device, it would resume from the very same point where you had left cooking. We employ a camera, multiple sensors, and computer vision algorithms to cook food. So the sensors would look at the state of food in its current form. It would look at, hey, how brown are the onions now, and then resume cooking from that very same state. So it still cooks perfect meals for you even in the midst of a power interruption.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question for Manish. How do we order 2 of these? Because I went to the website, it is closed till July. So sooner I want to buy one each.
Do you want to order for a Nimble machine?
Right away.
Okay. How many?
Well, the founder is sitting right here. I can solve this for you.
Happy to.
Saran, all I can say is this request has come from me, all of WaterBridge team, to Rohin and Raghav. We still have. By the way, I tried the machine during COVID for 6 months because they were still entertaining us with their alpha product. Currently, maybe you can answer. Maybe send us a. Saran, if you promise to lead his Series B, machine will show up tomorrow.
I'll give you units for your entire family. Yes. Nosh does not use multiple sensors to cook food. As a result of that, they have to standardize their input. So customers have to use meal kits provided by Nosh to cook food. Whereas for us, you could be in Boston versus San Francisco, where ambient conditions are very different. You could get tomatoes from one farm or the other, and the water content might be very different. Your onions might take 4 minutes to brown versus 3 minutes to brown. Doesn't matter. We do not have to set up a supply chain of perishables to distribute our product in our target geography. We can ship it all across the world. You can use ingredients from wherever, and because it is intelligent, it will still cook the most delicious meal on the planet in your home. My request is, if some questions are directed to Gautam and Priya, I do not want to hog on the.
Maybe can we take one last question? And preferably for Gautam and Priya, as Raghav is, he lets the machine do the talking.
Everybody is interested in food.
In fact, I was not happy today when I realized that I could just have requested Manish to install one robot in the food section. I totally forgot.
Opportunity missed. There's lots of global investors here.
Yeah, I know. Seriously missed. Maybe not.
Just to honestly, I wasn't joking, Mr. Gupia. Axel led their last round. Axel, US Axel, led their India office, and actually the US people were involved too. But Axel got to see the machine in action during their IC investment committee, and maybe a week before that also, before they approved every board meeting also. Yeah. So we get to enjoy it. But yeah, you got to figure out a way to get this to us as well.
Priya, this question is for you. As a women co-founder in a fast-moving tech like Cello, and for the kind of penetration you have into potentially smaller towns and solving transportation issues, how do you hire women employees in these smaller towns to work for a transportation technology company?
I'm not doing very good because it's difficult. It's a male-driven industry, to be very honest, and as we are very transparent. But this year we have kept yesterday only we have completed 10 years, and this year's, I was telling Manish that this year's theme is women in mobility for us, and we aim to hire like 40% women, and we have already done a good job of hiring like 13 females in last 3 months. But it's difficult, especially in field. So in support function, marketing, HR, admin, product, we have around like 40-50% ratio. In marketing, ratio is more than other teams. We also, if we see the average pay, we just were surprised because one of our investors asked for ESG report, and we were collating the data, and we were surprised. Mohit was not aware. Mohit and I got to know 2 days ago that we pay women 23% more than men. And they were saying, oh, this data you didn't tell us. I said, because I am negotiating salaries. But that's not true. We are not doing any biases. But it's just pleasant surprise for me also. But this is a male-dominated industry. So if we put bus stops pay city manager or assistant manager or ops manager, there are no washrooms. There's a safety issue because we run buses from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock, and somebody at a leadership position. It's a mandate. So we just signed a city recently, and one of the government like class 2 officer was asking me that why do you have to fire my team, and I was telling him that we are going to be letting go your team because now I am coming. And he said, no, you can take over my ops manager. I said, sir, what time he comes? And he said, he comes at 10 o'clock sharp. I said, sir, my ops manager comes at 6 o'clock. Is he ready to come at 6 o'clock? Because if I am asking someone to come at 6 o'clock to start the bus and leave after 10 o'clock, after collecting entire cash, they have to be part of it. It becomes little difficult. But we are figuring out ways to hire females. We have some very good females in field. It's still 13%. You don't have to shame us outside this room, but
I think, Priya, that the reason I was asking the question was to trigger this conversation. What sort of as an ecosystem of investors, corporates, and stakeholders, what is it we should be changing for the safety of the broader women colleagues to have a broader presence on the field, so they can feel more secure and empowered? That's exactly what it is.
Look, we live in India. If you see the data and I see the data, safety is one thing and women is second thing, which is a shameful state of affairs. I am telling this, it's a very bold statement, but that's unfortunate. And I have to give them a normal shift, which is what we decided that let's do 10 to 8. And if somebody goes after 8, you have to provide cab and safety, or somebody has to go drop that girl or take care of that thing that if you are going, we instruct our people just to check. And then there are males, leaders who start telling, oh, हमें females नहीं चाहिए, फिर safety के issues होते हैं, फिर उनकी problems होती हैं अलग तरह की, फिर हम क्या करेंगे? So you also have to train males. You know, females are not the problem in this country. Sorry, I'm very passionate about this female issues. I mean women, gender. I'm very sensitive about gender issues. So it's not about women. You know, it's about men. So we always talk about women empowerment, women equality, women participation or voice. What do you want to talk about men? How? Because 99% board they are owning. And I sit with my 3 co-founders, sometimes they are very bold because they tolerate me every day. And I'm not saying this as a joke, it's a serious thing because I have an opinion and I'm very strongly opinionated, intimidating person where people get intimidated by me. But you know Manish, right? It's very difficult sometimes to make your point understood by men because they are thinking in the same direction. All of them are thinking in the same direction. And sometimes they say that you are not making sense. And I sometimes feel that they are not making sense. But I have got coach and she told me after board meeting, she said, am I disclosing too much? Okay, so she said that you used word touchy. I said, yeah, because I'm touchy. She said, why don't you use word passionate? And you notice I use thrice passionate word because she has taught me recently. And I said, but what is the problem if I'm emotional and I'm touchy about something? She said, no, men don't understand. They think that you're weak, you're emotional. And emotions, you know, sometimes bored or sometimes, you know, in a meeting room, if you are very emotional or if you are bringing a lot of emotions, they're scared. So it's not about, you know, field, it's about from the top. So Manish has literally pursued me and yesterday we have shown the video and I'm remembering you, 9 months we have been speaking that why don't you join Chalo, why don't you join Chalo. And the video which we have presented at Chalo Foundation Day yesterday, there is a line which comes in front of my photo that one of the board members has persuaded Priya to join Chalo. And we need these kind of people. We need these kind of people who make me sit here. And it's not about field, it's about like top to bottom. All the females are supposed to be part. And you don't have to listen to them from your perspective. Just be open because they don't make sense to you. But they also think that you don't make sense to them.
Ram, if I could just add, in fact, she's been very humble. Women representation in all levels of the company is much, much higher, like 5x higher than the averages in the country. But it's a broader issue. Thankfully, in Chalo's board, I'm not going to take any credit, but we have 2 of the 4 institutional investors have DEI very high on our agenda. Not because it's nice to talk about it in the report, it is high on our agenda because of core principle. 2 of the 4, maybe 2.5, the third one also sort of is sensitive. You have a very active woman board member as well, but it's a big problem. It's going to take a whole nation.
You know, one more thing you can do in your organization, if somebody is crying, any woman is crying, just make it normal. You don't go on those used sick jokes that अभी रो के अपनी बात मनवा लेंगे. When you abuse or you shout or you scream or you sulk, you don't speak when you're upset. I cry. I want to share. And I tell everyone that just cry if you want to cry. It's okay to cry. In an organization or at workplace you can cry. And I have written a long poem 3 years ago on Women's Day that you can cry anywhere in this company. And I just normalize it because if you are shouting and it is normal, my crying is why you are making issue about my crying, because that's how I express my emotions. That's how I express my emotions by sharing. And sometimes you feel that why are you talking about this? So I think my founders, I'm very lucky. I'm not saying for the sake of it, but Mohit is little less in listening, and he always cracks jokes that my wife tells me that I don't listen or something like that. So that's the joke. So, but Vinayak and everybody else in the team, they are already very sensitive, and we need to practice that from top, and it comes to bottom. Like Mohit, we debate a lot about gender inclusivity, and sometimes in our weekly reviews or monthly reviews, there are 5 topics that why can't we hire some women purposefully, that okay, we don't reduce the maritorial criteria, but let's go and hire for these roles as females. Like Mohit told us, for finance role we are going to get females only, and there was like a lot of debate with other teammates and why female driven this that, but you have to do it as males.
I just realized we should have had a panel on diversity in DEI, maybe next time. But thank you for being honest. Look, that was the whole idea of only our founders, closed room, and we'll be honest. We're way over time.